Oops. Alright, how's everyone doing? We're going to get right into it. So, I want to talk about something that I'm noticing increasingly as the number of profitable trader grows, which is obviously solid and that's obviously what we want to see. However, there's a couple of things that we've got to take into account once that starts happening. Now, the thing is, being profitable obviously is a good thing, right? That makes sense. But let's define that. What is profitable? Let's define being profitable. So, a lot of people, when they think about being profitable, they think about consistently making money. So, pretty much money comes in and it keeps coming in and it keeps coming in, etc., etc., etc. Makes a lot of sense. That is obviously the definition of being profitable. However, one thing that you've got to understand, profitable also means having multiple months of losing streaks. So what I mean by that essentially, and it's something I'm noticing quite often, is people will start doubting themselves after having, for example, traded for 4 months and not making any profit or haven't made any profit. So that's not a bad thing. It feels very counterintuitive and it feels like it's such a shitty thing, but it's not necessarily a bad thing. So I'm going to pull up an equity simulator here, and I'm going to talk you through exactly what the reasoning behind that is. So let's say you've got a frequency of 270 trades a year, and then let's say you've got a 34% win rate with a 3-to-1 R. That's solid, okay? Now, one thing that you've got to pay attention to is you can have multiple losing streaks. It's not a bad thing. You're still profitable with losing streaks. However, I want you to understand the depth of this and how far this goes. If you look at the number of trades, which you see down here, the hashtag trade, the X row is the number of trades. You can see that from pretty much trade 1, it keeps glitching out for some reason, I don't know why it does that. From trade 1 or trade 0 pretty much, it takes 80 trades for us to be in profit, because we've obviously had a really rough start. We know if we see this, because let me actually do it again, we see this and we do this for a couple of years, it's going to be insanely profitable, right? If we do 1,000 trades, which is around 3 or 4 years, it's insanely profitable. However, what we saw here at the start, obviously the simulation is now gone, but what we saw at the start was it took us around 60 in this case trades to make some profit. And then we're doing well for a couple of months. Let's say we get around 20-25 trades a month. We're doing really well. We've got really good couple of months. But then from trade number 88, which you see down here in the corner, trade number 88 all the way until trade number 129, we are not profitable. So we haven't made more than 16, or our account balance has not exceeded 16K all the way from trade 88 to trade 129. That means that over 50 trades that we've now taken have not netted us any profit. Obviously, some of these trades will have won, but in general, overall, we are not in profit. Let's say this is, for example, March 1st, and then all the way until July 18th, whatever, you are not in profit, because that's 50 trades of you not getting to the level where you were at on March 1st. So that's really, really important to understand, that this is a span of 50 trades. It's been a long time. It's 50 trades, and you haven't really netted any profit. Does that mean that you're suddenly unprofitable? Does that mean that you're a loser? No. It means that a system only plays out in the long run. Now, I'm going to show you some data to confirm that and to back that up a little bit more too. If I look at this guy's data, someone I work with, he's got awesome data, not just backtesting wise, but also on the live markets. You see all the way from September 2016 until the pretty much March of 2017, he has not really gotten a new high on his balance. He hasn't really exceeded a high on his balance. So it takes him 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 months to get back to... Oh shit, my Discord is lagging for some reason. Alright, you guys can still hear me? Oh shit. Well, for those of you who are going to be watching the recording, this is going to be fun. My Discord just crashed. Let me pull that up again. Well, it's fun for those of you who are going to be watching the recording. You can obviously just skip ahead. Alright, guys. I don't know why that's happening. My PC's been lagging like crazy lately. You can hear me? Alright, sorry about that. I kind of lost my train of thoughts. I'm not sure what I was saying. Let me recap a little bit. So, what I remember saying about Nicky's data, it took him 6 to 7 months to get back at his previous all-time high, so to call it. So let's say this is your equity curve. Boom. This is 2025, February 25. It might take you 6 months to get back to that level of February 2025, but then you've got a really good couple of months, a really good December, a really good November, and you're still netting 76 or whatever 67R in a year. Very, very solid, obviously. And then if you look at the overall data, especially if I pull up Nicky's data, let me see real quick. If you pull up his data, well, this is weird. If you pull up his data, you see 524R in about 5 years' time. So that's data where you're like, wow, this is insane. 100R a year, yes, but you gotta remember 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months until we're back at a previous all-time high, until we're back at a level where we are making significant profit. Now, this is something that you have to understand if you want to become a full-time trader, because obviously otherwise it's going to be extremely hard. Now, it's going to be hard mentally. Why? Because there's not any sort of recurring income. There's no income every single month, so that's why it's hard. Now, there is a little fix to that I like to use, that I think is the only way to stay sane if you're going to be a profitable trader, and that is by utilizing the Rise wallet. Now, for those of you who don't know, if you're funded with prop firms and you get payouts, you usually get them paid out on what is called Rise, and Rise is just pretty much an external platform, an external wallet that you can deposit your payouts into, and then those payouts can be deposited into your bank account. So it's sort of, the funnel is kind of like this, right? FTMO pays Rise, and Rise pays your bank account. That's supposed to be the little bank account icon. That's how it goes. So the way I make sure that I still have recurring income when I'm in a period like this is by splitting my Rise my payouts on my Rise wallet. So what I do is, let's say it is August. In June, July, and August, we have made a total of 35 or 30K in payouts. What I'll do is I'll calculate my monthly costs, my cost of living, which is, for example, 1,500 euros a month. I'll 3x that, so that would be 4,500 euros per month, and then I'll literally start paying myself 4,500 euros a month from that 30K payout. So I'm not going to deposit that 30K payout straight into my bank account. I'm going to leave that on my Rise account, and I'm going to split that into multiple payouts, and every single month I know that I'm going to get at least a 4,500 euros payout on my account. Now, I know that I have, what is that, at least 7 months? Is that 7? Yeah, 7 months before this runs out. So I have 7 months to get a new payout before my funds run out and I no longer get any income on my account. Mentally, this is so much easier to handle, because otherwise you would get a 30K payout. You see that 30K in your bank account, and you just see that being drained like crazy because you're not making any new income. And you start spending like crazy in the first couple of months or the first month because you got 30K all of a sudden. But then after 2 months, you see how fast that goes down. And once that's going down, you feel like shit and you feel like you need to make more. So what I do is I'll get it on my Rise account, and then from my Rise account, I'll just pay myself small amounts, around 3 times the cost of living. I'm going to say COL here just to make it easier. The cost of living, around 3 times that, and just divide that for as long as you can. Ideally, you never want your Rise account to hit 0, pretty much. Because once it does, you know that you're pretty much out of money, right? So this lowers the pressure a lot because you can start to view trading as if you're running a business, as if you're working an actual job. Like, hey, I'm doing this. I don't know how much my company will make, your company, but I know that I am going to make 4,500 euros or dollars a month. The same way you work for a business, that business might be struggling financially. Let's say you work for Tesla, Microsoft, whatever, any other business, and let's say that business is struggling financially. You don't know how much money that business is going to make. You don't know if they're going to lay you off because they have to save costs, or they have to cut costs. But what you do know is that if you keep doing your job, you're going to see a payout for at least the next couple of months. And that's the same mentality I try to maintain here. That's the same thing I try to use here. And that's what keeps me sane. And I think especially, I remember, if I'm not mistaken, SK is in this call. Yeah, okay, so it's good that you're in this call. You're the only one right now, but that's actually perfect. Because you're funded with quite a lot of capital. So I believe you're funded 800K? So for you especially, this is going to be an amazing 700K. Okay, that's still awesome. That's going to be a really good method. By doing this, you're making it so much easier for yourself. Because let's say you got 700K in funding like you have right now, and let's say you get a 2% payout. 14K, boom, deposited into your bank account. You're still human at the end of the day. I'm assuming you're quite young as well. You're going to want to spend some of that money. You're going to go out to dinners, etc., etc. All of that stuff plays a psychological role. You're 20. I mean, come on, you're 20. If you see 14K in your bank account all of a sudden, there's no way that you're not going to feel the urge to spend it at least a little bit on something unnecessary, a little bit on dinners, a little bit on renting a car, whatever. But seeing that come in installments of 3 or 2K for the next 7 to 8 months, that's going to make it more stable. It's going to make it easier. And you also know, like, hey, I've got 2K coming in every single month, and I've got 7 months to make profit before that runs out. So you've got 7 months, so now you've bought yourself a lot of time. It's mainly just a mental game. At the end of the day, you're still making 30K. You're just splitting it on your Wise wallet into more payouts. That's what makes it easier. And that also cuts down on your greed, because obviously if you don't see any income on your bank account for a couple of months, you're going to be like, oh shit, well I should make something, should make some money. You're going to get greedy, etc., etc. Stuff like that. And then to keep in mind as well, if you look once again at that equity simulator, there's going to be periods like this over here, for example, trade 60. Well, yeah, pretty much trade 60 all the way until trade 113. So 60 trades before we get back at our previous high. And here, for example, too, 195 all the way until 272 before we get, and we haven't even gotten there yet, before we get to our previous high. Now obviously if you do 1,000 trades, this is an amazing edge. You're like, wow, this edge is perfect. I would love an edge like this. If I pull up Nikki's data, the friend of mine, you're giving me like, wow, that's perfect data. I would love to have that. But within that data lie periods of this. 637 all the way until trade 700. No profit really. So Good method to use. Sounds like a good, sounds like a good idea. We'll definitely have a look into it. Yeah, you should, 100%. It's the only way to stay sane, really. So, yeah, guys, definitely use this method. It's a really good method to use. It's what makes it easy, and ultimately, it's gonna make you feel profitable. Otherwise, you're gonna start feeling like you're maybe not a profitable trader just because you don't get a payout every single month. Well, little secret, no profitable trader gets a payout every single month. Or, sorry, I should rephrase that. No profitable trader makes profit every single month in terms of trading. Alright, guys, that's it. For those of you who are going to be watching, please use this. It's a game changer, trust me, especially mentally. Knowing that there's going to be money coming in for the next couple of months, that's going to be able to cover your cost of living. I don't know how it works in your country, but in the Netherlands too, you've got to have proof of income for at least a certain amount of months. And if I show, for example, a landlord a statement of me making 14K in January and then not making anything until March, or let's say until May, my landlord is going to be like, this is not stable. This is unstable income. I cannot give you a house. I cannot give you an apartment, whatever. It makes sense, right? It's very simple. Alright, guys, thanks for watching.